The Systems 2000 unit inventory is what distinctively changes a business management system into a dealer management system. This module is where you will input all of your unit information and track the costs and sales information associated with those units. In this tutorial, we're going to recall a stock number and then explain the different sections of the unit inventory module. The first section is at the top, is called the menu bar. By clicking the different options on the menu bar, you'll get a menu of other options that you can select, which will include modifying certain settings and different tools that help you manage the inventory. The next section, which is currently highlighted in green, is the unit inventory header information. It is normally standard for all pieces of inventory, regardless of the type. The next section is the tab section. Each tab contains information particular to the title of the tab. For example, we have travel trailers displayed, and if we click the motorcycle tab, there's information that is pertinent to motorcycle, and in marine, things that are pertinent to boats and other vessels. It is important to know that these tabs are based on a user's security permissions. For example, if I am an RV salesperson, the tab that I would have in my security settings would probably be just the RV motorized tab. All other tabs would be invisible. If I am in the accounting department, I may have the RV motorized tab and the financial tab available. We'll go through this in just a second and show you how we can set the security permissions to display only the tabs that user needs to see. At the bottom of the screen are the navigation and command buttons, along with a quick stock number search. But before we go further with this demonstration, let's jump over to security and remove some of these tabs, and we will set this screen up as if I were an accounting person in an RV dealership. First, we'll close the inventory. Then we'll go into security, click the administrator group, and click permissions. Do the permissions on the inventory, and we're going to come down to the tab settings. We'll turn off things like the marine, motorcycle, and utility trailer tab. We can also set a preference of what we call our default tab. For example, if I am in the accounting department, I may want the financial tab to be displayed at the top every time. This way, when I pull up a stock number, the very first screen that I will see is the financial information. Let's click the apply button, and then we'll go back to the inventory. As you can see, we now have only the RV motorized, travel trailer, consignment accessories, and those tabs that we had set up for. It is important that you go through your user categories and make sure that only the intended users have access to the tabs that are relevant to their job description. The unit header section contains generic information that is relevant to all types of vehicles. It is important to note that the stock number can be alphanumeric, and that Systems 2000 suggests that you set that up as an auto-numbering system. Systems 2000 uses a 2-digit year, and then you can select between new, used, or whether it is a demonstration unit that is untitled. The make can be picked either from the pick list or entered in by hand. We suggest that you use pick lists as much as possible so that your units are entered in consistently. The model pick list gives you more information. If you were to select a model category, the system would automatically input things such as whether it is new or used, the fuel type, the type of unit, and especially the GL account numbers that will be used for posting transactions to the accounting system. The VIN number can be attached to VIN decoding for automotive dealers. Once the VIN number is inputted, it will compare that to the year, make, and model and make sure that the VIN number is valid. If it is not a valid VIN number, the system will display it in red. For example, if I change a number on this VIN and hit the Tab key, it automatically tells me that the serial number that I entered does not pass the standard serial number test. Once I hit OK, that serial number is now highlighted in red. If you see a serial number in red, you want to recheck your input and make sure that it is a valid serial number. Systems 2000 uses two types of location tracking. One is the company number. This is the actual corporate entity. You can have as many corporate entities set up. It normally happens when you have dealerships that are located in different states, or that you want to have a separate corporation for each location. Or you can set up a corporate entity and have multiple locations or profit centers underneath that location. Since vehicle inventory can be shared through all of your locations, it's not necessary, but it is an advantage if you record the initial location that actually purchased the unit or took it in on trade, and then the current location that this unit is stored on. Systems 2000 has a vehicle barcode system. You can actually print barcodes for each one of your vehicles, and then a lot person can walk around and scan those vehicles. When they plug the scanners back into the server, the system will then upload the current location of every vehicle and then print off a variance report stating which vehicles were not barcoded, and then you can search to see if whether they have been stolen or whether or not somebody has taken them out on a demonstration ride. Select the vehicle type. In this case, we will select a MH for motorhome. The unit status is a color coding that is used by the dealership to identify units of where they are and whether or not they are in the process of being sold or ready for sale and so forth. These statuses really have no effect on the unit more than just to identify and alert the dealership's personnel. However, the checkboxes do have functionality that is programmed into the computer system. For example, when a system is checked as sold, and this will be done by the F&I or deal desking program when a deal is closed out, it signifies to the computer system that this unit is no longer available for sale. How this differs from internal status for the dealership is you may have a status called sold, but it might be sold and pending delivery, or sold and get ready for delivery. So the statuses that are color-coded are for the dealership, and the checkbox for sold yes or no tells the computer system it's now time to start flagging internals and using the process for the internal cutoff period, and also different factors of how transactions are going to be posted to the unit. It is very important that you understand the relationship between these two options here. In this example, we will set status to sold. Notice that the background changed to red, which is the setting for the dealership, but the checkbox still is not checked. This checkbox is what's alerting the internal processes of the computer that this unit has actually been sold. The On Order checkbox allows you to preload information about a vehicle that you have not received. It is very important to understand that when the On Order checkbox is checked, transactions that are posted to this unit will not update the unit. We'll go into this a little bit more later on. But if you ever notice that you're pulling a report and you see that a stock number has a value of 0, the first thing that you want to look for is, has the unit been checked as on order or on consignment? We'll go over the consignments in just a minute when we get to the consignment tab. The title in-house and titled are checkboxes that help your management track whether or not, if it were a brand new unit, that did you actually apply for the title, or if it's a used unit that you took in on trade or bought at the auction, have you received the title and got it in-house? You will be able to pull reports and spreadsheets based on that information. Systems 2000 will export your inventory to a number of lead generating sites, but the only units that will be exported to those sites are the ones that have been checked as display on Internet. There is times, though, that you will take a unit on trade, and it may be a liability unit, and you do not want to post that up there onto the Internet. At that point, come in and make sure that it is unchecked. If a customer gives a deposit on a unit from the F&I system, the system can automatically be set to check this box as on hold. It will even put the hold date and the hold salesperson. And thus, when another customer comes in to look at the same unit, a sales manager or general manager can look at this and say, yes, this unit already has a deposit on it and it's on hold. By clicking the square box around the on hold label, you'll actually launch the deal in F&I so that you can get a better picture of whether or not you should continue to keep that unit on hold or take it off hold and sell it to the next available customer. The next three fields are date fields. You have the expected delivery date, which coincides with the fact that the unit would have been placed on order. You have the purchase date, and you have the date that is sold. The sold date will automatically be populated from the F&I system. As with all date fields, you have a pop-up calendar. You can click the pop-up calendar, and by clicking on the right arrow here, we will move forward to different months or backwards to different months. If I want to jump directly to today, I can just click the today, and it automatically populates that with today's date. The MSRP, selling price, and package price all come from the Financial tab. They are here for display purposes only, so that when somebody who does not have permission to see the Financial tab, they can at least see the general MSRP and selling price. A package price is for items that have been added to the unit, such as a boat may have a motor and a trailer added. So the price of the motor and the trailer are added into the original selling price. So the package price in this case would actually be higher than the normal selling price. The age of the vehicle is calculated based on today's date compared to the date purchased. If the vehicle has been sold, then the age of the vehicle will be calculated based on the date that the unit was purchased compared to the date that the vehicle was sold. The in-service date is the actual in-service start date of the manufacturer's warranty. Then you have the manufacturer of that unit that would be paying for those manufacturer warranties. The sales review is a button. When you click that button, the system will display a report format of everything about the inventory from a sales standpoint. For example, we can see the basic information that we saw in the header. We can see additional information about the engine model, types, number of slide outs and things like that, because this is a RV. And then we can see, as we slide down with the slide bar, accessories that are applied to the unit and options that were added by the manufacturer. And then finally, if there are any service ROs that have been added to this unit, such as internals. This document can actually be emailed to a customer if needed, or exported to Excel. Review the reporting features video for more information on reports. Based on the type of unit, we'll click on that tab. In this case, we have the RV Motorized tab displayed. You can see that we have a sales description. This description is used for posting to your internet or possibly printing out on reports that you could submit to an Auto Trader or other paper magazine where you wanted to put in that it's a beautiful 2-bedroom slide out or whatever the sales description that you'd want to have printed or displayed in that advertisement. And then you have other options here for interior color, primary exterior color, secondary exterior color. If this were a unit that you're going to wholesale and you're putting on a what we call a B2B or business-to-business website where wholesalers could come in and purchase it, you may want to have a wholesale price that's displayed there. And then the odometers or the hours if it's a chronometer on a marine vessel or on an airplane. A temp tag number. And then the warranty status, whether it's unknown, whether it's eligible, whether it's a branded title or expired warranty, and the term in miles. This warranty status information is the manufacturer's warranty, not an extended warranty. You also have the ability to view and scan documents and attach them to this vehicle. So if you had a manufacturer's invoice or MSO or other documentation that you wanted to attach to this vehicle, you could click the scan button and have the scanner scan that information and tag it to this vehicle. And then later on you can come in here and hit View Docs. The View Docs and Scan Docs on the vehicle sales information area are for documents that do not contain private information that you would not want a sales or general public to view. Is this a rental unit? If so, when you print your reports, you said ask for all units that were available for rental, then that would be filtered out. The pending trade checkbox, like the on order checkbox up here, and like the consignment, which we'll come to the consignment tab in just a minute, tells the accounting system not to update the figures. For example, you have a trade that's coming in from a customer, but you haven't booked that trade in through the accounting system. Since the accounting system says my value for this vehicle is 0 because it's never been booked into accounting, the pending trade checkbox tells accounting, hey, you haven't received any information on this because like a consignment, you don't yet own it. So any figures that we have typed in are manual figures and they need to remain in the system. Now once accounting books this unit in, those checkboxes are removed. And then accounting says whatever figure it has booked in, that's what it starts to update. Now we'll go into that a little bit more when we hit the financial tab. In this case here, we're on the RV Motorized, and you can put in all the information that's needed. And for example purposes, we know that we have a manufacturer and a make up here called Fleetwood, and we have an MSO title make. So if the title make differs from the make that's up here on the top header information, you can input that in. Then the rest of the fields that are listed basically pertain to that type of unit. As we go to travel trailers, it's got other information that's directed at travel trailers to consignment. We've already talked about the on order and the pending trade. If the consignment checkbox is checked and you type in the amount or you type in any amounts on the financial tab, those amounts are for viewing purposes only. You have to keep in mind, you do not own a consignment unit. The consignor is the owner. So when you're accounting, you can't book that in and say that I have a $50,000 vehicle because it's not yours. So again, we'll go into this a little more on the financial tab, but if the consignment checkbox is checked, the on order or the trade pending is checked, the system will retain the information that was keyed in by the sales department. The Accessories tab displays a grid. A grid is like an Excel spreadsheet where you can type information in. The accessories allow you to input options that were factory installed. You can also add accessories by clicking the Accessories button here at the bottom left, which takes you to a blank line, and from that you can select an accessory code which was preloaded in your accessories maintenance screen, and that puts in the description, the make and model, and if there was a serial number associated with it, it would populate that. You have a quantity, the actual cost that was inputted at the time when accessories code was inputted, an extended cost, which is the quantity times the base cost. And then you have a list price and the extended list, which is again the quantity times this list. So if we were to change this quantity to a 2, you can see that the extended cost went to $650 and the extended list price to the customer went to $898. We would then check whether that was factory installed. If this is unchecked, we know that it was dealer installed. And has the option actually been installed on the unit, or is it just something that is planned for installation? And then we can also say which categories it's going to go in there, whether it's electronic, external, or an internal category. We can also just type in a description and then come across, put in our quantities, our cost, and our suggested list. What's important to know is that these accessories do not affect the actual cost of the unit. They are descriptive information that will be applied to the deal. You can type in whatever that you need here on this screen and not worry about it updating the cost of the unit. The cost of the unit is updated by actual transactions coming from accounting or the parts and service department. Once all of your accessories have been selected for this unit, you could print a new window sticker or a unit purchase order. The Service tab displays every RO or internal that was applied to this vehicle. By scrolling down, you can actually see whether the work has been done because it's been flagged as closed, or if it's just in a quote status, meaning that this work needs to be done but hasn't been started at this point in time. If you click on a repair, it highlights that repair, and then you can come down and click the View Repair button, which opens up the actual internal document that was created by the service department for review by your sales. In this case here, we can see what was actually added to that unit from that repair order. If we wanted to print a listing of all the repairs that were done, we could click the Print Repairs button. The Customer tab will automatically populate when a deal is done on this unit. For example, if a deal was done and there was a trade-in, the system would automatically put the trade into inventory for you and then populated the purchase from and purchase from name and information. On the sold unit, it automatically populates the sold to and who it was sold by. If you're purchasing a unit at a wholesale or from another dealer where it wasn't done through a deal, you can just type in the entity's number. If you don't know the number, you can click the little button with 3 dots on it, which is always your search button. And then you can search for a specific name or customer. And I highlighted the column called last name. You can see the little arrow there. And I typed in Smith, and it brought up all the Smiths. I can then use the filter bar, which is the yellow line here, to actually drill down and start to type something like J, which brings all the Johns and Jerrys and James in, and then John. And then when I select it and hit OK, it will automatically populate that number and name into those fields. Again, when a deal is done in the F&I department or deal desking module, it will automatically populate this information for you. Likewise, if this were a trade-in or a sale, there would be a deal number associated with it. And with that deal number, I can click the button called Deal Number and automatically launch the actual deal that this unit was sold on or the trade-in was brought in. The Financial tab is the most complex and probably most important tab of the unit inventory. It starts with the reference number, which is the invoice number of which you purchased the unit with. The purchased from number, which is the entity number, and the purchased from name or entity name can either be inputted by hand or you can click the 3 dots on the button, which brings up the search filter. You can enter a PO number, and then the sold to and sold by information will be automatically populated by the F&I or deal desking system. The View Accounting and Scan Accounting docs worked like the Sales View docs and Scan docs, with the exception that these documents are stored in a more secure folder so that the general public or the sales department cannot view them. These documents would be financial documents such as the manufacturer's invoice or anything else that is private. Like the Sales Review, you have an Accounting Review button. Clicking that brings up a detailed list of all of the information, including costs and floor plan. Like the Sales Review, you have the general information at the top, along with the accessories. But as you scroll down past the accessories, you come into a financial section, which actually shows the costs of the vehicles. That's highlighted in green. Next, you can see the transactions for the inventory that came from accounting. Further down, if there are any outstanding estimates or work that's being done in the service department that have not been closed out, you will see these estimates listed here underneath the vehicle information. Listed in pink is the floor plan transactions. And then finally are the service documents that have been applied to this unit. Underneath the Accounting Review is a memo box. You can type in any comments or information that you want to remind you of when you're looking at this unit's financial tab. You can set up pricing categories so that when a new unit is stocked in, you just have to select one of your categories and it automatically will pre-fill most of the financial data. You can enter in the MSRP. You can enter in a percentage of markup. As the total cost of this unit increases, it will automatically adjust the MSRP value that is printed on your window stickers. What I have typed in here on the Financial tab for the MSRP appears up here on the header information for your sales department. You can enter in your own selling price, or you can set the selling price as a percentage markup over the cost. The actual purchase price that came in on the manufacturer's invoice is listed in this box here. Any add-ons or repairs that were done by the service department are listed in the add-ons and repairs box. Any additional costs that we want to add to this vehicle, or even costs that we want to do write-downs of, we can type into the additional cost box. Finally, the total of the purchase price plus add-ons and repairs plus any additional costs, in this case minus additional costs, gives us our current total costs. We can then type in a pack adjustment amount and a pack adjustment percentage. The pack adjustment percentage amount is calculated for us, giving us a pack cost, or also known as a CTS, or cost to salesperson. You can also do a red line cost that says the salesperson, if he gets a deal that's over this amount, can go ahead and close the deal without having to call and get approval from the management. The next column deals with your floor plan and curtailments. You can type in the floor plan company, or you can select it off the list. You can search by clicking the three dots, which brings up the search filter. When the floor plan company is selected, the default account number that's assigned for floor plan to that company will appear in the floor plan GL account number. You can change that, however, by using the drop-down box or the search feature on the GL account by clicking the button with the three dots on it. Enter in the floor plan balance. If there is any interest free, there is a calculation in the system that will give you an estimated interest balance on that unit. The system will also track interest floor plan payments for this unit that come through the accounting system. Those floor plan interest payments will automatically total in the floor plan interest. If there was a flat fee that you had to pay to the floor plan company, you could enter that, and then you would get a total interest balance. Curtailments that are paid on this unit will also be totaled and displayed right here. If there's any dealer holdback, destination charges, or any package costs, as we explained about the package selling price, where you have tied a boat, motor, and a trailer together to increase the value of this into a package, that package cost will be displayed at this time here. If you want to pre-calculate the DMV fees or an optional warranty or tag and title, you can enter those here, which assists the finance manager when he is doing the paperwork to know that this is what's going to be applied. It also assists the salespeople where they can get that on a view to prep the customer about an extended warranty. The GL account numbers are very important. They tell the system how and where to post the transactions to accounting when internals are done on this unit or the vehicle has been sold. As we talked about the additional costs, where you can type in amounts that either will increase or decrease the inventory values, the system will need to know where to post those amounts to. This is where the additional cost general ledger account number comes into play. For example, if we wanted to change the additional costs to $500 and create an accounting transaction that's going to an accounts payable, which is $2,300. I can leave it at $2,300, or I can change the GL account number that I want it to post to. I can put in an entity if that is required. And I can put in an entity reference number, which is be the invoice number that I'm going to pay for that repair for. Now, I don't have to put this information in. If it's like a vehicle write-down, and I'm just going to type in that I am writing this vehicle down $1,000, then I just have to select the appropriate additional costs account that transaction should be posted to. If I want to enter any comments about the transaction that I'm about to create, I can type those comments in there. Further down, we have the vehicle transactions and accounting transactions. Based on the configuration of your system for your dealership, you can set the system to allow the sales managers to update the vehicles through the vehicle transactions, or you can run a little tighter ship and say that all transactions coming from the accounting department will override anything that the sales department or anybody else puts in if given permission. That is something that your installation person will talk to you about and discuss which is better for your dealership. Once a new unit has been entered in and all the figures and GL account numbers have been set, the user needs only to hit the Create Accounting Transactions button, and an entry for a vehicle purchase will be added into the accounting system. We're going to pull up a new unit that has no financial data in and do a quick example of how you would post a unit from the inventory into accounting. On the Financial tab, we'd want to enter in a reference number. In this case, we will use the same number that the auto stock number retrieved. We can search for the purchase from, or we just pick it off the list. For the PO number, we'll use the stock number again, and then we'll come to the pricing category. Since this is a new unit and I've got a price category already set up, that would automatically populate the percentages and things that I would want preset. Let's say the MSRP is $60,000. We're going to leave the percentage at 0 for the MSRP because we don't want that to adjust. We'll put in a suggesting selling price of our sales department of $56,000. Now in this case here, the $56,000 is not going to stay because we're going to leave the percentage markup at 5%. If we take our cost of sale on this unit and say that it's $50,000, and you notice that the selling price now adjusted to $52,500. Kind of a low profit margin there. We'll change that to 15% profit margin and hit tab, and notice that the selling price again adjusts. We don't have any add-ons or repairs. Those would come in from the service department, and being as this unit is just being purchased. And we'll take an add-on cost of $100. Let's say it's a delivery fee that we have to apply to it. Our pack adjustment amount is $500. We'll type in, and a percentage of 5%. In this case here, the salesperson has a $53,100 pack cost. And we'll put a $55,000 cost line in for him. If we're going to floor this unit, we need to pick a floor plan company. In this case, it'll be GE. It automatically populates it with the floor plan account number. And we're going to put a floor plan balance in of $50,000 also. This will go straight to floor plan. If you don't use reconditioning, we suggest that you just set that to the cost of sale account. In this case, we'll put $4,400. A floor plan account for any interest payments that are going to be applied to this unit. And then additional costs we'll set as $4,400 also. At this point, we have all of our financial figures in. I can click the Create Accounting Transactions, and the system automatically makes the entry in accounting for me. So you can see here in the accounting transactions, we have a credit to our floor plan for $50,000, a purchase price debit of $50,000, and a $100 debit to the inventory for additional costs. If we were to review that in the accounting department, we'd also see the offset to the account $4,400. This Accounting Transactions tab only displays transactions that are affecting the vehicle itself, such as vehicle inventory transactions or floor plan transactions. Since the configuration of this demonstration is that accounting updates the master inventory, if we look at the vehicle transactions here, they mimic the transactions that are in the accounting. Now that we have the accounting transactions posted on this unit, let's go ahead and add an adjustment transaction for demonstration purposes. So our additional costs will go from $100 to $150. I want to come over here and put an additional cost entity that possibly I need to pay, which I happen to have one, which is entity number 13. It picks up the default GL account from that entity and puts it into the additional costs. As you can see here, it's $2,300, which happens to be a payable account that we're going to pay. The computer system will actually create a $50 entry that credits the account $2,300 for supplier number 13 and debits $50 to the vehicle. If we have an invoice number for that entity, we could type that in. We'll call it I123. And any comments, we'll call it demonstration. And now I can hit create transactions. And it added an additional cost transaction right here of $50, which you can see, additional cost demonstration. Likewise, if I want to write this vehicle down by $150, I can come in and change the additional cost to 0. I can come over and type in a write-down account number. We use 6051 for demonstration purposes. The additional costs entity and entity reference number doesn't matter at this point. I will delete those. And then just type in comments as write down. And I'll hit create transactions. And as you can see that we have a $150 credit to the inventory, additional costs write down, which reduces the price of the unit. If your sales department has permissions set that allow them to add entries to this vehicle, then they would click the add a transaction, and they can actually create a one-sided transaction. They can type in the amount of that entry. This entry right here is a one-sided entry. It does not affect your accounting department. It is only for the sales people. When an internal is started on a vehicle, the service manager normally will have an estimated amount that he knows is going to be applied to that. On the service screen, and we'll start a new repair order, and then we have to select a unit. Now the important part to note about the vehicle inventory is there is an internal estimate amount right here. If I click off of it, you can see it. And if the service department realizes that this is going to be approximately a $100 job, they can type in the 100. And when this internal is saved on exit, it will actually create an entry onto your vehicle inventory. And you can see there is an estimate coming from the service department. And there's the RO number, it's 5043, and it's the $100 estimate. Now this is important that your service department puts these internal estimates in because the work hasn't been completed yet and the ticket hasn't been closed out, but you can at least get your sales department to start selling above that $100 estimate. Now when the service ticket is actually finalized, that $100 will be removed and the exact amount will be placed there. So if the internal estimate comes out to $95 or $110, when it's closed out, this transaction will be deleted and a new one for the exact amount will be applied to it. Another important note is the memo field that we have on each transaction. If you notice that in the beginning of the memo it says the word floor plan or additional costs, purchase price, additional costs here, an estimate that has demo trans, and then just an estimate. The initial words such as additional costs on a memo will actually determine where this amount is going to appear up here in these boxes. Because the words additional costs are on this line, this $50 charge is getting added into the additional cost line. And finally, on the Vehicle Transactions tab, we have the record selectors that are listed over here. They're the little square boxes to the left of each transaction line. You can see we've got this one highlighted here, and it is a G1 transaction. It actually has a reference number, which is the RO. And if I want to look to find out what's really going on with this $100, I can click the View Repair Order. And that is going to open up that repair order on the screen. I can see the requested repair description, which is demo, which is what we typed in when we created that RO.